Welcome to CBN NewsWatch for Monday, August 16th, 2021. Coming up, chaos in Afghanistan. We have the latest information. Plus, America's largest reservoir is shrinking, and now the federal government could shrink the area's water supply.
You're looking at about 9 billion gallons of water less that will be available for our community.
See how people in this area are preparing to survive the loss of a natural resource. And a warning for all parents. Your child's online video games are a breeding ground for sexual predators.
Wherever children are, predators are lurking. So when you have kids on social media or video games, you're going to find predators there.
We're arming you with the keys to keep your child safe. All this and more coming up next.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thousands of civilians are scrambling to flee the capital of Afghanistan. The conquering Taliban are holding court and broadcasting from the president's palace. The American embassy has shut down, and the U.S. military is struggling to manage a massive evacuation. Dale Hurd has more.
Chaos in Afghanistan's capital Kabul as thousands of frantic civilians, afraid of their future under the Taliban, converged on the airport hoping to escape. As panicked Afghans clambered onto planes, U.S. soldiers fired warning shots into the air. Hundreds more carried their suitcases as they rushed out of Kabul on foot.
This is manifestly not Saigon.
But it looks the same, complete with U.S. military helicopters carrying embassy personnel to safety. The U.S. embassy now evacuated, the American flag lowered. The Taliban broadcasting on live TV from the equivalent of the Oval Office at the presidential palace, after rolling into the Capitol Sunday as the president fled the country. This is something Joe Biden said 6 weeks ago would never happen.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true. They did not reach that conclusion. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy. The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
Texas Congressman Michael McCall, the ranking member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, says Joe Biden blew it on Afghanistan.
I think it's an unmitigated disaster of epic proportions. And I think the president, this is going to be a stain on this president and his presidency. And I think he's going to have blood on his hands for what they did.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in full damage control on the Sunday talk shows, trying to defend the U.S. withdrawal and the chaos that has ensued.
The fact of the matter is this. We went to Afghanistan 20 years ago with one mission in mind, and that was to deal with the people who attacked us on 9/11. And that mission has been successful.
The Trump administration initiated the Afghanistan withdrawal, but Republican Congressman Steve Scalise points out that Trump's plan was based on the Taliban meeting certain conditions, like not taking the cities.
In fact, many of the conditions included that the Taliban wouldn't overtake the cities that they have now overtaken under President Biden's leadership.
The Taliban have tried to reassure frightened Afghans, but this phone video shows the bodies of people pulled from their homes by Taliban fighters in Kandahar and shot. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is being criticized for holding himself up at Camp David, away from journalists' potentially embarrassing questions about what his critics are calling his foreign policy disaster. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
In other news, a massive 7.2 earthquake hit the Sud region of southern Haiti on Saturday morning. Rescuers are working to find survivors amid the rubble. At least 1,097 people dead and 5,700 people injured. More than 13,000 homes destroyed and nearly 14,000 damaged. Survivors in some areas are taking shelter in streets and soccer fields. Right now, Tropical Storm Grace is expected to hit Haiti Monday evening, which could bring torrential rain, flooding, and landslides to the area. As Tropical Storm Grace makes its way to Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Tropical Storm Fred is set to make landfall in the Florida Panhandle today. Expect heavy rain, gusty winds, storm surge, and isolated tornadoes. The remnants of the storm will bring possible flooding to Alabama, Georgia, the Western Carolinas, and the Mid-Atlantic region. A third shot of Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine is now authorized for patients that are immunocompromised. The CDC made this recommendation, and health officials are now evaluating making these booster shots also eligible for the elderly and healthcare workers. Right now, the Delta variant continues to rise across the country with more than 140,000 new infections. This is leaving a strain on hospitals as they are running out of room for patients. Churches across the country are dealing with not only the pandemic, but growing concerns of homelessness and hunger as well. CBN's Brody Carter introduces us to one pastor who's not letting the fear of COVID get in the way of helping others.
Well, COVID can cancel sporting events, flights to Paris, even weddings and funerals. But one thing it can't stop is the love one woman has for her community and a love for Jesus.
If COVID doesn't kill them, hunger will kill them.
Not even the resurgence of a global pandemic can stop Pastor Shetigo Nekpodia at Redeemer's Praise Church in San Antonio. She and her team serve 300 meals every Saturday, and not one of them has caught COVID.
The Lord laid on my heart to just keep going every day, to just go and feed.
Serving the homeless from inside the dilapidated walls of this 1869 historical church, which has a history deeper than the smoke you can still smell trapped in the wood from two separate fires. But now it's setting hearts on fire for Jesus Christ in the heart of Texas.
So every morning, go love on the people. Go to work. Take care of your family. Don't quit trusting and believing God. Together, starting in faith, we will overcome.
The pastor now raising money to build a community center where the homeless can wash their clothes, get their GED, and also grab a hot meal. This as COVID chaos continues across the country. With mandatory masks and vaccines heating up, the Delta virus is not slowing down, with a daily caseload tenfold since late June. This week's top COVID headlines: hospitals in Oklahoma and Mississippi running out of space. The FDA authorized booster shots for the at-risk population. Vaccines are now deemed safe for pregnant women. And Virginia, the latest state to issue a mask mandate for all K-12 students. Despite all of this, a word of encouragement.
Don't quit. Stay in the word, stay in faith, stay in prayer. And let's just keep going every day, trusting God to take care of us.
Pastor Nekpodia is still raising money for Redeemer's Praise Church and Community Center, thanking anyone who feels conviction to help her end hunger in San Antonio. This as the fight against COVID-19 continues. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Coming up, it's an epic drought depleting Lake Mead, but one state is taking innovative steps to conserve water. Find out more next.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
And welcome back to NewsWatch. Here are some other stories making headlines in the CBN newsroom. Israeli firefighters brought a massive wildfire outside of Jerusalem under control Monday morning. The fire began on Sunday, filling the area with smoke and forcing 10,000 people to evacuate. At least one person is missing. This is the second major blaze this month. Loudoun County Public Schools passed new guidelines requiring teachers to refer to students by their preferred names and pronouns. This despite heavy opposition from some parents and teachers. The new guidelines also permit a student to use a restroom or locker room corresponding to their gender identity. 10-year-old Orion Jean from Fort Worth, Texas, says it's his moral duty to help people. One way he is doing that is by using his love of books to help spread kindness around the world. His current drive is called Race to 500,000 Books, and he is collecting these books for children who don't have their own. Good for him. He hopes to meet his goal by August 31st, and you can get more information on this story at cbnnews.com. An epic drought in the West depleted the country's largest reservoir, Lake Mead, of 2/3 of its water. This week, the federal government plans to declare a historic shortage, which will lead to supply cuts. This will likely meet with resistance with some states, but senior national affairs correspondent Heather Sells takes us to one state that's planned ahead to be prepared for this moment.
What happens here at Lake Mead matters. 7 western states, along with 29 tribes in Mexico, depend on the water that flows through here.
The Southwest is one of the most heavily populated areas in the whole United States, so we are concerned.
40 million people rely on this giant reservoir, which today is only at 1/3 capacity. An infamous bathtub rain tells the story. Lake water last covered the whitish minerals on the rock in the late 1990s.
This is really new territory, given that all of Las Vegas and many other cities in the Southwest have really grown during that time. So this is serious.
To get a better idea, take a look at the water level in these pictures at the Hoover Dam from 20 years ago and compare them to today. Those who use the lake for boating and other recreation are well aware of the shrinking shoreline. You can see the effects of the drought here at the Lake Mead recreation area. They've had to build new ramps just to get people and boats into the shallow lake.
It's scary to think about, what happens if it drops more.
When I normally launch my jet ski off Boulder Beach, and there's probably about a good 12 to 20 feet of mud that you can't actually drive in. You will get stuck.
The falling levels and shrinking water supply didn't happen overnight. It's the result of 20-plus years of more heat, less rain, and less runoff.
What we think about droughts now is it's really a balance between that supply, that lack of rainfall, and the atmospheric thirst. How dry is that atmosphere? How much water is that atmosphere pulling out of the ground?
On one side, scientists believe the West has moved beyond temporary drought towards aridification, a permanent phase of more dryness and less water. Either way, western states like Nevada are preparing for unwelcome intervention when the federal government declares a historic shortage and water supply is reduced.
You're looking at about 9 billion gallons of water less that will be available for our community.
Southern Nevada gets 90% of its water from the reservoir. Thanks to aggressive conservation, however, the Water Authority here isn't panicking. The effort dates back to 2002 when the West drought began in earnest.
We had to pivot very, very quickly and reduce our water use almost overnight.
What that looks like, financial incentives for homeowners to remove grass and replace it with drip-irrigated rockscapes. Also, limited watering schedules for these yards, complete with water police. They patrol for homes with leaks or those not following the rules.
If they don't take corrective action, they could end up with a water waste fine.
Even more important is what Southern Nevada does with indoor water. Get this, it recycles and reuses 100% of it.
We could turn on every faucet and every shower in every hotel room on the Las Vegas Strip, and it wouldn't increase the amount of water we deplete from the Colorado River, because all of that indoor water use gets reclaimed, treated to near drinking water standards, and returned back to Lake Mead.
Last year, this conservation allowed the region to use just 83 billion gallons of water, far less than its 98 billion gallon allotment. That also means enough margin to absorb the expected cuts. The work has caught the attention of neighboring states. The region is partnering with Southern California right now to repurpose its treated wastewater, which up to now has been discharged into the Pacific Ocean. Believe it or not, Las Vegas was founded in part because of its water supply, a bubbling spring that helped start the city in 1905. Today, it's got a 50-year water plan, although there's still concern for the future. Just how much water will the region have going forward, and how will it accommodate a booming population? It's why Southern Nevada is joining with other western states to ask for up to $1 billion in federal dollars to help better understand the drought and manage the precious supply of water in some of the country's driest states. Reporting in Southern Nevada, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Still ahead, find out how children playing online games are targets for sexual predators and what you can do to protect your children. That's coming up next on CBN NewsWatch.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
In ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
A sexual predator could be lurking in your house and you'd never even know it. If your child plays computer games, he or she could be one click away from being sex trafficked through online gaming. It's one of the fastest growing entertainment industries. These games are also the platforms for what the FBI calls hunting grounds for sexual predators. Here's national security correspondent Caitlin Burke with more.
Parents usually feel that kids living under their roof enjoy a layer of protection. But if they can get online, then danger could just be a few clicks away. We checked out a popular gaming platform to get a clearer picture of what kids are encountering. Within minutes, we found a publicly available chat that included explicit language. Ew! And even avatar pornography.
We can't even show this.
Unfortunately, wherever children are, predators are lurking. So when you have kids on social media or video games, particularly when there's an interactive element, absolutely, you're going to find predators there. Big tech is not designed for children, and they know that, and they're taking advantage of that.
In the summer of 2020, FBI analyst Chris Travis noticed a trend in several child exploitation cases.
These perpetrators were using online gaming platforms to open communication with children. So to identify basically their targets, to start communication with them begin that grooming process, and then move them over to other applications where they can then have video and picture sharing capability.
Once on a social media app, the suspect would push the child to send photos, getting increasingly aggressive.
They'll say, hey, you have to keep sending me pictures or videos. And if you don't, I will post the pictures that you did send me. I'll post them on your Facebook account, or I'll link it to your Discord, or I'll send it to your parents.
Our kids in this country who are sex trafficked, right? This is the number one way it happens. It is a meet online. It is it's a runaway. It's convincing somebody to leave. It is not taken. It is not, the white van pulls up, scoops the kid up and grabs them and puts them in a dungeon. It is kids voluntarily leaving, not realizing what they're going into.
Kevin Branzetti is an NYPD veteran and co-founder of the National Child Protection Task Force.
We are a group of professionals, law enforcement, private sector professionals, all volunteers. Not a single one of us is getting paid. We're an on-call service to law enforcement. So if there is a case where a 14-year-old girl meets a creepy guy online and disappears with him in the middle of the night, and maybe there's only a few small trace points that are out there, we'll throw in any assistance we can.
After more than a decade working cyber investigations, Branzetti says some of the same tech he uses to find missing kids could also help prevent them from ever being targeted. It all has to do with the personal data collected by the websites, social media platforms, and apps that we all use.
They want to build information on me to advertise to me. So they know I'm a 50-year-old man in New York. So they want to send ads that fit me, right? They don't want to send me ads for a restaurant in New Delhi because, well, that's not going to help their business. So they learn a lot of information about us, store it so they can send us ads. Well, it happens on these sites too. So if you have a group of people talking and this is a teenager, that's a teenager, that's a teenager, and that's the 50-year-old guy, it's there, it's available.
While big tech companies may have that information, they don't currently use it to keep their spaces safe for children. Lynna Nealon with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation is on a mission to change that.
We're asking these corporations to default to safety, default all of the safety controls. And we know that these technology companies can be using emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, for example, to be more closely monitoring, to see what is happening on these chats, looking for grooming behavior, looking for sextortion, and again, proactively intervening when appropriate.
Nealon is making progress with these companies, but it's a slow process. So in the meantime, parents need to be vigilant. The FBI has rolled out this campaign to educate parents and children about these online threats and the controls available to secure their devices. Still, kids are digital natives, and controls may only go so far. Chris McKenna, founder of Protect Young Eyes, says building a strong relationship with your child is one of the best forms of protection.
It has to start relationally, and that's by doing technology with them. That's what we call co-play. It's copy me, modeling, right? It's being curious instead of condemning. It's having conversations about everything, and probably 2 years before you want to. And then it's having a posture of coaching instead of controlling.
All of the experts we spoke with stressed not to attempt banning your child from the internet. For one, it's just not realistic. Instead, take more control over what they can access in order to prevent unwanted access to them. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Important story there. Well, coming up, 2 unique stories involving a tiger and a bear. Stay tuned for more.
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
From Washington, D.C.
Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation.
Uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody, John Jessup, Jenna Browder, and Eric Phillips, bringing you the political news that matters.
Regulations on the energy industry are going to have dramatic ripple effects throughout the economy.
News you can trust.
We're people who are committed to protecting the most weakest and the most vulnerable.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6.
Before we go, check out these two stories. First, Mike the Tiger is getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Louisiana State University's mascot got his second dose of the vaccine that was donated by an animal health group. He received the vaccine after his caregivers worried he could catch the virus from humans. Now Mike the Tiger can get up close and personal with his fans. It's so hot that even bears need to take a swim. Terry Phelan captured a black bear cooling off in a backyard pond in Waterbury, Connecticut last week. She says the bear did not seem bothered as her family watched it chill and climb over the rocks. They were only about 30 feet away. Wow, glad they were safe. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen, and you can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Or be sure to talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day and a great week.